So whether you're trying to sell a home or rent it, the process can burn you out. And we want to talk about what that looks like today and what are some strategies to get out of the burnout, because burnout is real, especially in tougher markets. Have you had an overwhelmed landlord?
We have 10 properties listed on the MLS, and we probably have half of those we're getting multiple showings each week. The other ones we're not, and those owners are getting a little antsy.
Yes.
And we're doing market analysis, looking at prices, looking at the competition in the area, trying to make any kind of adjustments we can.
Right.
Refresh the listing if we can, add or subtract anything we can in the listing. We use Realtor feedback on showings that they see stuff that we might not necessarily see. So,
or it may not have mattered to you at the time of listing, but now all of a sudden it's become a thing. We're starting to see that as well.
Yes.
We had somebody that was opening and closing all the cabinets and said the cabinets are dirty in the kitchen. And I'm like, that's the feedback, is the cabinets are dirty that you open after they moved out. You know, you get little crumbs here and there. I thought that was just a very interesting feedback. Usually you get the price is too high or the floor plan's not right. But to be as nitpicky as the cabinets are not cleaned out.
Yes. We can take care of that.
Well, then you've got some landlords that maybe aren't using a property management company right now, and they're doing it on themselves, and maybe they're getting burnt out. They're getting late night calls, maintenance requests, and maybe it's just too draining on them. Aside from hiring a property management company to offload that, do you think there's anything in between that they could potentially do to help?
The obvious thing, whether your HOA will allow you to put a sign in the yard, you can get drive-by traffic. We never use Craigslist or anything like that because we feel like we get flaky.
Lots of scams, it feels like, on Craigslist, yes.
We've never gotten a good tenant off that. So
that's fair.
We don't ever use those things, but it's really the number one thing is price.
Yes.
If you don't have the right price, you're not coming up in a search, and you're not going to get shown.
Yep. And that's very much the same on the listing side. It's always price. And a lot of times we run into the issue that they don't have enough equity right now to go any lower in price. So then you're just kind of sitting there hoping someone comes across, and you add days on market. Granted, now everyone's days on market have increased, and so you can kind of use that as a cover for what's really going on. But a lot of times it's price, and you watch these homes that took 6 months to sell and they came down $100,000 in equity. Like, it's just crazy the amount of price reductions. But what we do every week is we show them, like, look, this is who sold. This is what they actually sold for, because in Texas, non-disclosure state, you don't know what anybody sold for unless you have access to the MLS. And so we'll say, yeah, they might have listed at $549, but they closed at $437 6 months later.
Right.
Do you want to keep going down that path, or do we want to get a little aggressive with it now? Or do we maybe take it off market and list it again? Because sometimes we have that luxury where maybe they don't have to sell, and they just were kicking tires to see how the market was going to be, and they could float the property for a couple months. Maybe they own it outright. Or sometimes we have the conversation like, maybe we should put a tenant in there instead and give yourself a year to see if maybe the market comes around next year.
We're getting more and more of that situation where we're picking up owners that they're tired of the selling market.
Yes.
And they just want to wait till the economy recovers a little more, gets better interest rates.
Right.
And then they're wanting to lease it out for a couple of years, year or 2 years, and then try it again. So we're seeing that more and more.
And it's funny because some of the signs of the burnout, if we circle back to burnout, are going to be, dreading the showings because, the showings that you have been having have not been great. You had to prep for the showing, get the showing, and then the feedback's the same feedback you've been hearing. A lot of times we see owners not adjusting one way or the other, even though the feedback says one
Right.
thing. Being emotionally attached to the outcome, but you're like mentally checked out. Like it's stressful, but you also don't wanna look at it anymore.
We see that more and more on the pricing.
Mhm.
I gotta have this price,
Yep.
and I'm showing them, no, this is really where you need to be,
Mhm.
I gotta have this price, and you gotta eventually walk them down to where
Yeah.
you need to be, and usually we'll get somebody about where the price is where we said it should be,
Well,
but
I'm so envious of your side because you guys can make price adjustments so quickly, and they're small brackets of price adjustments. You're $50, $25,
right.
$100. And granted, yeah, it's over a 12-month span. It does start to add up, but it's not nearly as much of a price adjustment on the listing side. Usually we're looking at 3 to 5% adjustments of sales price.
Mhm.
And that's just a gut punch for a lot of sellers. Or maybe trying to stage the property instead of having it vacant, which can be equal to
Yep,
that price adjustment,
yep.
not quite as much, but then you got to re-photograph it, remarket. So it's all this reinvesting. And our conversation we've been having with sellers is let's just start with that because we know we're gonna have to get there eventually anyway. So
Mhm.
let's just start with that. But you guys can make a really simple adjustment in a couple weeks and it usually solves the problem. We make an adjustment. Sometimes we might be 2 weeks behind anyways,
Right.
and then we're still chasing it down. And that's when it gets really hard on both sides, being an agent and the
Right.
client, is how do we keep the trust going? We don't know what the market's going to actually do. We can only do our best and see what the response is. And we kind of guide everything off of responses. Do you feel that you guys kind of go through the same process? So like we'll say if we put it on the market and we get lots of showings and an offer, it doesn't mean you undersold, it means you priced it right. If you get a lot of showings but no offers, you're just off the mark, maybe 3%. And if you're getting crickets, you're probably 5 to 10% off list price, depending on price point. Do you guys
It's
kind of have the
pretty much the
same?
same thing.
Isn't that funny?
But yeah, when we do the initial pricing,
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell them, okay, this is where the range I think you ought to be at, and I specifically say that we'll base everything off the show volume. If we
Right.
get a lot of calls, we know we're in good shape.
Yep.
If we don't, then now we know we need to make an adjustment.
Yep.
So um, try to set that up front so that they realize, okay, if I'm calling you in 2 weeks, that means I'm not getting any showings.
Right. And I think a lot of agents make that mistake of not setting that expectation up front. A lot of times, one, they haven't been in the market at all. You
Right.
might have somebody who decides that they're going to start leasing properties as an agent for the first time ever because maybe they're not getting sellers. So they'll go, okay, we'll help
Hmm.
you with your lease listing. And there's so much that goes into it that if you're not doing it on the daily like you are, it's
Yep.
a mistake. And they don't know how to set the expectation. So then everybody's just burnt out by the end of it. And next, agreements are being severed. We're starting over with a new agent. But I mean, we've been second agent on several deals lately because it just didn't go right with the first agent because they misunderstood the market. They
Right.
hoped there's a lot of hope right now in the market. And
Yep.
there's a lot of realization that the data's there that the buyers just are not there right now and everyone's kind of stuck. I feel like we're coming out of the 2021s, I feel like some people are starting to be a little more realistic, but I don't think they're realistic enough of where it needs to be. And you get sellers that have so much equity in the house and they're going to lose so much more by being stubborn on price than just being a little competitive up front. And I think you go through the same
Yeah.
thing. And then that's what leads to that burnout because you're kind of going through insanity. You're doing the same motions every
Right.
week with not the same result over and over. When life hits hard, late payments, medical bills, job loss, or even the need to move quickly, many homeowners feel trapped. The fastest way out seems to be selling to a cash investor, but that means giving your home away for pennies on the dollar. You don't have to do that. Nearly half of homeowners today are equity rich, and that value belongs to you. With our One Move program, you can unlock that equity immediately. Get cash in hand now and still share in the upside when your home resells. Or, if you'd rather, we'll shop your property to multiple cash buyers so you can choose the best offer instead of settling for one low bid. Go to donedealoffers.com and discover the smarter way to get cash fast without losing the equity you've worked so hard to build.
What does Real Property Management do for you? Advertising, marketing, prepping, inspecting, showing and screening, reviewing, accepting, selecting and signing, briefing and moving, maintaining, inspecting, enforcing, responding, pricing and saving, communicating, emailing and calling and faxing and stating, coordinating, scheduling, unlocking, fixing, accounting, reporting, funding, filing, and nixing, complying, renewing or moving, collecting, evicting, assessing, rekeying, and ever repeating. And meanwhile, we're training and ever refining, always running to keep vacancies ever declining. Because Real Property Management means oh so much more than cashing a rent check. Oh no, so much more. The discount shops say they can do all this too. Without staff, systems, resources, how can that be true? Tens of thousands of investors nationwide know when they need real management, just where to go. We're proven and trusted winter, spring, summer, fall, from major catastrophes down to the small. So if you own rentals, grab the phone and make a call. Real Property Management. We handle it all.
Right now, we're actually seeing an uptick in showings.
Okay.
And we're in the middle of December.
Right.
And we leased a property this last week, and we picked up a couple more properties. So we're seeing more than what we had the last few weeks. So
do you think that's
I'm hoping
related
we're
to end of year, or you think that's related to the rumors about interest rates, or
could be a mix of all of it.
It's a whole
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of relocations that potentially come into. You get we've got somebody that I know that just was told last week they have to move to a different state and they need to show up there January 1. Their whole life just went upside down in 2 seconds.
We see that. We see that quite a bit.
And so if you're not in front of these people often enough, they're going to miss you for one. But also, if you're not out marketing your property, they're going to get missed too, because they probably have a week to show to figure out what they're doing with their lives, because they have to be here so quickly. So it's really important also to market the properties.
Yeah. Right now, our people that we're showing, they need something in less than 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
And it takes 3 to 5 days to do the background check,
Yes.
and then you got to get them loaded in the system. So it's a quick turnaround.
Are they applying on multiple properties, do you think? Or do you think they're
Yes.
sticking to one? Okay. So it's really kind of speed to whoever gets pre-approved
Yes.
first, they're going to pick that property.
Yes.
So having systems in place to manage the applications.
You got to go quick.
Yes. So a couple different things to resetting strategies we've talked about. Reassessing pricing and photos on both sides, 100%.
Yes.
Especially if a property's been sitting long enough where maybe the leaves have changed or they're falling off or they fell off and now they're back on. Like, you got to update the exteriors at least.
I highly stress professional pictures.
Yes.
The cell phone pictures don't
They
don't
just
work.
give a film, a grainy,
Right.
icky film to you just don't look at it the same way. Like, we just listed a property that was under 300,000 and all of the comps had cell phone pictures not staged. And Crystal and I went out there, took my own inventory of staging because there just wasn't a budget to get a professional stager out there. But I was like, I don't want it to just be vacant. So we'll do a light staging with me and her. We went out Saturday, staged it, took out 4 big totes of buckets to make it feel like we put 3 things in the house, because
Right.
it's amazing how many things you can put in a house before it feels full. But with that paired with the professional photos, we had at least 25 showings scheduled, multiple offers, and meanwhile the whole neighborhood's still sitting. And we're getting closer to the holidays. Like, it's less likely for someone to come out of the woodwork and get the house,
Right.
especially if they have all these other homes that are very similar,
Right.
same price. And we didn't do same price, though. We went a little bit under, which is what helped sell us, because the rest we knew were sitting. So why would we also price it at that price that's showing it's not going anywhere? And we're still getting showings on it to this day, and we've been wrapped up for like a week.
Right.
So it's just interesting what you can do if you have very professional photos, regardless of whether you're leasing it out, it's a lower price point for
Right.
selling it, or higher. They should all get great photos. it doesn't take much to get great photos these days either. There's
We
so
s-
many good
we spend
photographers.
under $150,
Yeah.
and you get
I wish
you
I
get
could
good
spend under that
you
much,
get
but
good you get good fit good results from that.
I have a Gucci photographer. He costs me a little more, but I love him to death, and I'll never leave him until he retires. But
That's good.
yes. Okay, so consider taking a short break, re-entering the market with some momentum. We had a seller come off market, and we're going to try again in January.
How long do you have to keep it off the market for
At
selling?
least 31 days if you want days on market to reset. So I think on the 31st day you're good, but we
I
like
think
to.
ours is 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, so
something
it's
like that.
it's at least 31 days and then days on market, but cumulative days on market never reset. But the regular days on market, which is what Zillow and Realtor and all
Mhm.
them pull, that will reset after 31 days. So if you're not going to be able to pull it off for 30, I don't think it's worth pulling off. You might as well just keep riding it out because you're going to have
Right.
increased days on market. And then landlords, if you're burnt out, you might need to leverage and hire somebody and stop
Vacation.
taking it on yourself by any means. I love the concept of doing exit interviews with the tenants. Do you guys get an opportunity to do exit interviews with tenants?
We kind of do with our disposition letters that we do,
Right.
and we're basically making any kind of above and beyond expenses we charge to their security deposits.
Mhm.
And when they get that letter back, and that's when we go, oh no, we find out when all the what they think is normal wear and tear and what we
Gotcha.
consider. We have you could say, an interview.
Yes.
We usually have a pretty good phone call on that.
Okay. So it triggers that automation kind of they're reaching out to you now because I'm sure trying to get them on the
They're
phone.
trying to get all their money back.
Yeah, well, just trying to call like, why are you not going to release with us? Like they don't want to answer that question. But yeah, if there's something that triggers where they're calling you for a question, it helps set that conversation up. So I think the biggest message too is burnout's normal. Anything over a long period of time can be
Yes.
normal. You haven't necessarily failed at anything, but you probably do need to readjust your strategy. Otherwise, you're just going to keep going through the same process and no one wins at that point.
Right.
So I think going through and realizing let's, pivot. We don't need to freak out. Everything's okay. We just need a new strategy. And a lot of times people panic without a plan. And if you can help them create that plan, they feel much better.
You need to do market research.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to some property managers where they're offering 1 free month's rent
Okay.
to sign. I've heard others half rent. I've heard others a few $100s. So there's a lot of people offering. I don't know if you'd call it signing bonus or
Right.
what, but they're making offers to try to differentiate them from the people that are just saying it is what it is. So you need to look at that. You need to look at the pictures. You need to reevaluate everything.
Yes. Because things have changed sometimes in the
Yes.
couple of months that you might have been, or even couple of weeks that you've been on the market. So that's a really good point. I think that's a great way to wrap up, and we'll see you on the next episode.
You bet.